Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Facebook Friday Industry Live. What day is it? What's going on? I don't even know. Everything keeps changing so crazy. Excited to have everyone join us this week. We're talking about the revival of events and weddings because I know a lot of this is changing. There's like new developments happening in our industry that are good or challenging or just new. Very new. But hotels are starting to open up. My husband works at the Rancho Bernardo Inn, and they're in full force this weekend with Father's Day. And I think they've got some weddings on the books for July, but none of the corporate events from my world of things. That is still kind of on pause and definitely more of a virtual setting. So lots of change. Drop a comment if you have some events going on. Maybe you're doing some virtual or some social distancing stuff. I think conversation that we had earlier this week, if you saw that, was about maybe PPP equipment and PPE. I'm sorry, PPP is the loan stuff. PPE equipment, or maybe some of the equipment developments that are going to be necessary for large scale events, if that becomes permittable. And we'll just kind of see how that goes. But there are some social gatherings that are starting to happen at people's homes and within dining elements. So that is all new. If you've got something going on, I'd love to hear about that. We are going to be talking with Suher today about some of the events that she's producing. She also does amazing coaching and has a weekly broadcast that she does. I've found great value in it too, and I'll link to that. I know there's plenty of guests that have referenced her as amazing resource and friend and colleague in the event industry here in San Diego. So very excited to chat with her because she is just a wealth of knowledge and a resource for all of us, and has been in my career. And definitely, if you're not in San Diego and you're new to her, then this will be quite a treat to be able to chat with her. One other side note, we do in terms of like things coming out in the event industry. You may have seen we launched some of our digital products. Now, one of my superpowers is that I love spreadsheets and I love to be super organized. I have found ways to run my business with some of the tools and templates that I've created, and those are now available on the website. So if you are new to starting your business, you're not super type A like me, and it's not in your DNA to like spreadsheets, but you really need something to get yourself organized. I definitely encourage you to go to theeventindustry.com and look under our tools. And there are a number of things that are free. There are things that you can purchase that can help launch your business if you're sending proposals, if you're doing presentations, if you're organizing your business and some of the logistics stuff. So there's like a myriad of things that you can look at to help you wherever you're at in your business or wherever you're at in your needs. So yeah, go check it out. Great tools to help you as we kind of roll into events and hopefully revive 2020 and our social gatherings, whatever those may be. Now, okay, I am going to welcome in Suher, and we'll get chatting with her.
Hello.
Hi, beautiful. How are you?
How are you?
Good.
That's
so good to see you.
You too. I see that, you're still doing these live things, and it's really good. Everyone's constantly tuning in and listening to everything you say, which is really good.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's been, it's been an interesting exploration, I think, of the last few months of just wanting, I think it came out of a need of wanting to connect, or also just see as like fellow entrepreneurs, like, what are you, like, how are you approaching this? Like, what are your thoughts? What are your, what's your take on it? Or even share like stresses too of like, there's times I know that you've shared in your Instagram stories of like hitting walls as an entrepreneur. There's peaks and valleys in a lot of this, and sometimes the valleys are super hard. It's hard to pick yourself back up again and be like, going to make it through this. And I think as a community, it's just been great for us all to connect. And that's just what I know that you do a lot of too. And your Monday broadcast of sharing information and connection. And I think that's just like helped me as an entrepreneur, just like keep going and not go like, I just want to give up, because I think there has been a number of times since March where I'm just like, what is the point? Is this going to be revived? In terms of corporate events, it feels like they're in a coma right now, and I hope it wakes up. And there's virtual events, so that's great innovation. But I think in general, it's just been a bit tough. So
yes, definitely. It's all interesting and new territory for all of us, and I feel like we're all going to school all at the same time and learning this process. And it just depends on how much we put into it. And how much we really want to continue in this industry.
Yeah.
And there's no telling who's going to last and who isn't in the next few months, because, we are small businesses. We are what keeps San Diego up. And without access to weddings or ceremonies or what have you, it's going to start, affecting us. And corporate events, I know we do a couple of corporate events ourselves, and we know how important it is for our community. And without it, these people travel from out of the country, out of state, to come to San Diego to be at these corporate events. And without that, it's just,
No, it totally has a ripple effect, beyond just like the business it brings to our own personal business, but the business it brings to the hotel and how many people they can employ, and our vendors, whether they're AV company or florists or rentals or entertainment. I mean, it's definitely, it's definitely a ripple effect of like when something cancels or gets postponed, like who's involved and like who that affects, in our community. It's pretty far and wide.
Very, very much so. Yeah.
So I just jumped in like everybody knew you, and didn't give you a chance to introduce yourself.
Okay. It's like everyone
know you. What? No. We have some followers for sure that are non-San Diego. I know you have a lot of followers too, but for those people that that follow the event industry that don't know you, maybe a good introduction of who you are and what your business is, and what you got going on.
Okay, so my name is Suher Haider. It's a tongue twister. I've been called 10,000 different versions of Suher, but it's Suher. It's said the way it's spelled.
Crazy.
I know, right? And I was a wedding planner back in 2005. I did it for a short period of time. Couldn't do it with two little kids, and I took a break and stayed home with the kids for a couple of years, and then I went into banking, and it was kind of like corporate America sucking the soul out of you.
Yeah.
And then I had an opportunity to get back into the wedding industry. My friend and one of my really best friends and colleagues, Nahid from Nahid Global Events, asked me to help her out on the weekends. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
She knew I had done it before. And so we started doing it together. And then I was like, okay, I still have it in me. So I took that next plunge and I left the corporate world and I started doing weddings, and it was really great. And fast forward now, I still have two kids. They're still old. I can't do it because I have two kids still. Whoever says it's easy to do it when they're older, no. It's the same.
Really? Oh, shit. Well, I mean, mine are 4 and 2, almost 5, but I'm like, so it doesn't get easier. They just get more, they're just still as demanding.
It's not even, I don't even know if it's a demand. It's just for you as a parent, you feel like you need to be around just to keep an eye on things. But, I started doing weddings with Francine Rabeau Events, and everyone's like, why don't you do your own business? I'm like, I feel like I have my own business. Like, she's so great. She sits back and says, I have a client, take it. Yeah. And, it's funny because sometimes she'll be like, oh, what are you doing this weekend? I'm like, I have a wedding. That's right. So-and-so's wedding. Oops. So I because she really does trust me, and she knows that I advocate really well for her company. And I enjoy the creativity and freedom of it. And a few years ago, I was sitting with a friend, Catherine Bachelier Smith, and she wedding planner, also a lifestylist, and we were talking about, I just feel like we do have network events, but there's no strength in community. And I want to be able to go out and hang out with friends and just have some kind of a community lifestyle. And well, do it. And I said, yeah, why not? So I started Refined by Suher, and at first I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. But I started off as, okay, let me just do these little workshops and network events and see what comes out of it. Let me do one-on-ones and see if I even have it in me. I'm not the smartest person in town. I think I am, but I'm not. I don't have the most experience, and I'm probably not one of the most talented people. In my mind, I am, but, and I said, let me see what I have in me to give to others. And then what I realized with my one-on-ones, what people are wanting is just to talk to someone.
Yeah.
They don't want someone to say, you have to do this, this, this. They just want someone to hear them.
Yeah, totally.
And that's what I became. People will call me and say, hey, I just need advice. Like, I don't know how I'm doing this or what I'm doing. And I believe in the power of communication. If you talk to someone and tell them something, then they'll know how to respond back.
Well, especially when it's peer-to-peer, because I feel like something I've experienced over the years is that, like, it's hard to ask your husband for advice, or your best friend who doesn't do events, or, someone who's, your mom. You might be close to your mom, and your mom's like, you should do this. And you're like, they don't, and it's not their fault. It's like they want you to win or support you or listen and all those things. But it's nice to have a peer-to-peer, someone that's, kind of gone down the path and experienced some of these things that can say, like, you should, not you should, rather retract that. Maybe just like understand like what you're kind of overcoming at this time of like, yeah, I did that. I struggled with that in my business. Oh, I struggled with that with the client, and really understand what you're going through versus people that are not really, in our business, that don't understand, or your employees. It's not like you want to vent to your employees and be like, all the time. So it's nice to have that soundboard.
Yeah, and it's very important. I ask Eddie 1,000 things, and he'll be like, oh, what about this? What about that? I'm like, you know what? Forget it. You just don't get it. You just don't get it. But, when I started Refined, I noticed that a lot of people were responding really positively, and I started doing these cafe crawls, which I think is the heart of what I'm doing. It's just a small group of people getting together and going from one coffee shop to the other, and they're just talking and communicating with each other, and it's very, very beneficial.
Do you have any plan with things starting to open up? Are you doing any cafe crawls in the future?
I wanted to do one in June, but I kind of feel it's a little too soon, especially given what's happening. I'm a little nervous about that. I think our health is a lot more important than any of this right now. And I am going out more and doing things like going to the store. Going to the coffee shop, and I was one of those people. The first 3 months, I did absolutely nothing. I went to the store maybe 4 times. Went to one drive-through birthday, and that was it. And so I don't know if I am going to be doing it anytime soon. I'm following guidelines.
Yeah.
And if once we get a thumbs up to have at least 10 people gather, then I am 100% on board. Fingers crossed I can do something by August. So that's my goal, especially now because we're hearing back a lot of people saying that, the cases have gone up with COVID, and they're thinking of like stopping from everything from opening extra. So they're sticking to this space for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's been a lot of cases in like PB where people aren't going out and using masks. I mean, not just here in San Diego. I think it's in California in general. And I know San Diego announced yesterday that they were rolling back some of the restrictions, they were implementing more restrictions because there was more breakout areas. So yeah, it's I think it changes every day. And with holidays that were open up with Memorial Day and everything else kind of affected everything, and the protests. But I also read that the protests didn't affect it too much. A lot of people were using a lot of precautions, and some of the major cities like Seattle and Minneapolis, where they've done testing, for people that attended protests, there was only about like a 2% positive rate for COVID. So really small by comparison of the numbers, but still a concern, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just a waiting game right now. I see a lot of people saying, we have to have weddings. We're going to lose our business. And I completely agree with that. But at the same time, what if we do start these weddings again and these corporate events, and then something happens?
Yeah.
I've been saying this from the get-go. Who's going to be responsible for this? There could be a family member that comes to a wedding and gets really mad. Obviously, if their daughter catches COVID or if a family member does, that puts them all at risk. And imagine, like, who will be responsible for that? They're probably going to sue someone for not taking any precaution, not keeping the property clean. So we need to just make sure that we are sticking to the rules and regulations. I did a elopement last week. On June 6th, I did an elopement at La Valencia.
Okay.
And I literally had my hand in hand sanitizer the whole entire time. And I had a mask on. I took it off every now and then to breathe, but I put it back on most of the time. But I accidentally hugged someone because I haven't seen someone in a while. And as I'm hugging them, I'm like, oh, it's too late now. Let me just hug them. But we have to keep our eyes open and stay precautious with everything that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up a really good point, and something I discussed this week and last week with a fellow colleague, just about liability. And we were discussing, like, for large scale events, or I think any event in general, as a planner or producer, organizer, whatever, it's really vague and unclear of like where liability might be if you were to put together a gathering. If you implemented some social distancing, because there's nothing out there like that's relative to our industry right now. It's really specific to certain kinds of businesses and nothing pertaining to events. I had the request of putting something together for a large community event like later this year, and how I would address like COVID safety. And I don't feel like I have the tools to even outline that. Or even, do I want to take on the liability? What would happen if a bunch of people got sick? And what if someone died? I don't know. So, I mean, it's definitely worst case scenario, but something to consider, like, in terms of like our role and what we're responsible for, because I take that very seriously,
Very much so. I did a walkthrough yesterday with my couple, their priest, and Brian Miller, the photographer. We were in the Mission Church in Mission Valley. And I can't say the actual name of the church. It's really difficult to say. So I'm just going to call it the Mission Church. And we were walking, and we kept, our distance. We had our masks on at all times. So we were very cautious. And then after that, I had a meeting with another couple, and they've chosen to push their ceremony and wedding out to next year. But I said to them, I just need to keep you guys aware that as we're moving forward within the months, we need to make sure that we keep everything safe. And maybe by next year, they're going to request that we have someone check temperature. And they're going to request stations of hand. They're going to request maybe a basket of masks. So that's something, we need you to add onto your budget, your wedding budget. And something very important I said is I would highly recommend maybe hiring a couple of people to actually do temperature check, not only the hotel. Because I've been going to hotels for like meetings, and no one's checking my temperature when I'm walking in.
Really?
So I think that that's important to do it when you're gathered in a group for a wedding.
Yeah.
And then the groom said, "Are we definitely going to be doing that?" I said, "I don't know. We have to wait and see. If there is no cure, then maybe, yeah."
Yeah.
So it's just it's like I said, it's a waiting game.
What are some of the things, I mean, you spoke to some of the meetings you've had recently. Are there other ways that you guys have adapted or things that you've implemented with your business right now with producing events, or even Refined by Suher as a result of COVID?
Definitely. So I'm almost a Zoom queen. So I've definitely been doing Zoom really well.
Here's your crown.
You know, I have one inside. Let's not bring that out. I've been doing the Zoom calls, which has been really good. I still do a few of my one-on-ones. I have about 4 a week, which is really great. I am working on doing some online classes. You were talking about virtual a few minutes ago, and I think that's the way to go with people in our field where we are the voice of the industry.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we start looking into virtual work. I'm doing some online classes, and my goal is to have, if anyone wants to start a business, this is going to be the course that you go to get all the information, where to go, what to get, how to get it, what it entails, the pros and the cons of it, whether it's a S Corp or LLC. And the reason why I'm doing this is because during COVID, with all the Zoom calls, I learned so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, if I can learn this and I can put this together in a really good format, I can offer this to people that want to get into the industry or want to review what they have. So I'm doing a lot of virtual things.
So wait, is this like a event business like 101 course that you're teaching online?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm still working out the kinks. I'm meeting with a professional next Monday to go over all the details. So I'm not doing my Zoom call next Monday. I'm taking a break, and then and I'm going to see which direction, whether it's going to be an online one-on-one or it's going to be like a paid thing where you go in and you get the PDF and it has all the information on there. Yeah. And also, like with weddings, Francine Rabot Events, we revamped our website. We redid the whole thing in a week. Francine is like the queen of anything technology, and I'm the sidekick. Robin to her Batman. She went in and just said, which photos do you want? And I'm like, take these photos and let's put this. And she's like, give me some verbiage. And I start some things up and she puts it together. And we did the website. We updated our packages. We included a couple of like COVID and mini money packages as well, because that's important to have there right now. And and we're just working on that, hoping that people will start paying attention. So that's our plan so far. And I'm seeing a lot of other people, like TBD, for example. She's doing her pop-up shop, which I went to on the opening day, and it was so much fun. I bought a bunch of things for my house because I am, I'm going through my quarantine phase where I'm in the remodeling phase.
I've seen it. You've been, with your backyard renovations and painting. You've been busy for sure.
Definitely. I'm not even going to, I'm glad that you can't really see them. I've got paint and marks everywhere. But yeah, I've been doing that. And then I love how she's also doing the she has a virtual platform there.
Yeah, I'm actually partners with her on that. And that's been great. And I actually was helping her kind of think through some of the things for the gift box stuff, because I think that's such a great idea. And she's got such a keen eye for style, for home things and gift elements. And so she has, in purely Jillian style, like, style something, created it so amazing and magnificent, like in nanoseconds. It's like she waved a wand and now all of a sudden she's got like really cool. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love everything that she's done there. And I'm also enjoying seeing companies team up together and do these like virtual like giveaways or these virtual packages. I shouldn't say virtual, these packages. So for an elopement, for example, I know that Evelyn Francesca's doing that. She was one of the first people that did that in town. I think it was like March 16th. She was on there saying, boom, 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 and this is what we're doing. And I'm like, whoa, easy. So she's really, she's really taken that and she's working on that. I think she just did one of her first elopements. And I enjoy seeing people's creativity come out through this. At Atlanta Jackson, have you heard of her? She's amazing.
No, I've heard, I've actually spoke to Evelyn a couple weeks ago for the first time. I think we were connected like through your network and knowing, obviously knowing a lot of the same people. And we actually like chatted just about like what she's doing. I mean, we definitely do different styles of events or whatever, but it was really good to chat with her and excited about the stuff she's got going on. And she's got like a mastermind group that I was hoping joining. She's trying to figure out if she's going to start another one or what, but I'm like, I want on board.
I know. She's really good, and I really enjoy what she does for the industry and the community. And Evelyn Jackson is a florist, and she has a storefront. And when I was talking to her, she did a Zoom call with me, and she was in. I've hung out with her once or twice, and we've spoken. But I like that she said to me, "You guys are creative and stuff." And she's like, "Not that I'm not creative." She goes, "But I am a business mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking this as a business process." And I'm like, amazing. She's revamped, I think, her storefront, and she's also doing these joy boxes.
Oh.
So people can go online and order these gift boxes. And I sent one to one of my brides that, I had to postpone her wedding, and it's a really good process. And, her pivot works really well. And like I said, I'm loving what I'm seeing. Cafe of Love as well, who won the Refined up-and-comer of the Refined Awards last year. She is teaming up with an artist, a local Little Italy artist, Stephanie Bales. And she is doing like a art and flower pop-up.
Oh, fun.
And I'll send you the information.
Yeah. Send me the link so I can include it in our comments here. What's the flower pop-up? Is it more like bouquet style stuff that you can grab?
Yeah, she's doing the more dried bouquet so that it's not something that dies as soon as you take it, after a couple of days, and it's a little bit more long-term. So she's doing little dried ensembles, and it's in Stephanie Bale's art gallery in Little Italy. I think it's on India Street. It's like my favorite thing ever. So I love it.
I will have to check it out because I I'm super organized, but yet I don't have a green thumb. I like kill every plant that has ever come into my world. I don't know how I can keep children alive and I can't keep any plants alive, but maybe that's something I'll figure out later on.
Well, yeah, I'm just like you. My dad had a green thumb growing up, and I've tried every year. I'm like, this is the year. And today I got up and I saw 2 tomatoes. So I'm like, okay, if I can grow 2 tomatoes, I have one. So we'll see.
Well, that's exciting. Okay, so yeah, tons of great collaboration. I think it's like one of the elements that's really helping help our survival too, of like pivot and think about different business models with a number of things of like, what are some of our talents and skills and how can you utilize that to, still try to make money and offer something that people are wanting, like dried flowers or, coaching or virtual experiences or so forth. So yeah, tons of great elements. I was going to ask you too, with all of your years in events and thinking about like the life before COVID, I just like to reminisce a little bit because I feel like the MPI event I did a couple of weeks ago with Encore and Virtual Event Collective and TBD. There was part of it where it felt like a real event for a second, and there was a band and there was lights and there was decor, and like if you closed your eyes, it felt like a real event. There wasn't people in there. It was just us and like the people in front of the camera, but the dancing and everything, it just had this like energy. And I got very nostalgic because I was like, oh my God, like this is it, like it's hard through all this time to kind of relish back to what those feelings are like, or those memories too. But for a second, it kind of felt like a real live event. And it was really, really exciting to kind of reminisce. So are there events that you've done in your pretty long, extensive career here that really stand out as something like amazing? And, when you think about events in your mind of like what you want to get back to, like that comes to mind of like, oh, that was such a fun thing.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Where do I start? Which event could that be? There's so many of them. I have to say that for me, the whole wedding and event experience is my interaction with my couples. there's something about it. I don't know. I don't know if it's luck or if it's we marketed ourselves well enough. I get couples that I stay friends with for years.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's two weddings that come to mind. Three. So I did a wedding at La Valencia a couple of years ago, and it was this really cute couple. The groom was more involved than the bride was. So it was cool. Yeah, and I loved it. And he's just, he's like one of my favorite people ever. His name is Andrew, and his wife's name is Caitlin. And they travel for their what they do for work, and they are all around the world. So they're very worldly. And we were talking about life and stuff. And when I did their wedding, it just went off so beautifully. And I remember how great that was. And I just wanted to bottle that up. And then at their after party, they invited me to go and have a drink with them. And I promised them I would go. And I was like drinking water. And they're like, no. And then the bridesmaid comes and like throws a shot in my face. She's like, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then she was this like cute button. I just call her a button. And she's like, one day you will plan my wedding for me. And you waited. And I'm like, okay, sure. 3 months later, I get an email saying, please tell me that I'm not effing crazy. That was like the subject line. And then it was this bridesmaid, Annie, and she lived in Boston. And she's like, I want to do my wedding there. I said, okay, sure. So we flew out to Boston. We did all the planning, and then she had to push her wedding out an extra year. So during that time, her sister decided to get married.
Oh, wow.
We flew out to Maine and did the wedding there. And my nostalgic feeling is the connection with the people that were there.
Yeah, totally.
It's so spectacular. And that's what I take away from all this. On my drive home, I'm always like, oh my God, I love that conversation I had with the father of the bride or the mother of the groom and what have you. And it was just, I just remember Annie's wedding back in October of last year, the same thing. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. Because of weather. There was a nor'easter coming in, and it was just, the weather was like ridiculous. So the day before, it like almost flooded the backyard where they're doing the wedding.
Oh my God. And you're like, it's good luck. And they're like,
Yeah, exactly. So that nostalgic feeling of getting it done. And the next day, they did it for both weddings. The next day, they just sat down and spoke all day about the wedding. And they're like, okay, we're not doing anything. We're just going to talk about how amazing the wedding was. And they're just like, this and that and this and that. And like, how did you pull this off? I'm like, I don't know. I just did it. And I remember the father of the bride goes into the tent the night before, and it's all set up with the tables and chairs and the tent. And he's like, wow, we could actually live here. I'm like, well, then there you go. I will take it and I can live with you guys. So, I love the nostalgicness that I take away is definitely the connection of people. And I love the challenge if something was to go wrong. That's what I'm there for. If something goes wrong, we jump in to that position and we say, we got this and we got this.
Yeah. And
I was talking to one of my couples yesterday, Heather and Justin, and they're like, we want to make sure that the mother of the groom enjoys it because she was a planner. So she is concerned that she's going to be the parent that's going to be like, where's the flowers? Are the flowers there yet? Is it time for this? And his goal was, and the groom said to me, we need you to make sure that our mom has a good time. I'm like, oh, this is a challenge. I like it. Okay. And, so my goal now, knowing that it's really important for them, is that they have to make sure that the mother of the groom takes a step back and lets us do our job. So
but she doesn't feel like she has a mental clipboard just running of like, is this going to happen? And are we on time for this? It's like, just like, have some fun with your family and not worry about it and just have things kind of happen.
Exactly. Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Those are all amazing stories. Thank you for sharing those, because I can see how passionate you are and how much you love what you do, and that is amazing. So that just definitely comes through in your stories.
Yeah.
For our fellow planners, is there any advice that you would give, or even colleagues, of like how, with things opening up, or, things that we're doing? We talked a little bit earlier about maybe some sanitation stations, and is there some advice that you would share for, as we transition into opening things up, or how we're managing our clients, that, that you're doing with your clients? And I think you spoke a little bit about this, but maybe if there's anything else you want to add of what's some best practices to handle, now that we're in June, and what that means for summer and then the rest of the year.
I think my best advice is go with your gut instinct, and every event has a certain sort of feeling to it. Mm-hmm. And you need to take care of yourself, because if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your family. Yeah. And I think that's the most important thing. I remember I spoke with one of my one-on-one clients saying that, it's great, this couple wants to do their wedding, they want to hire me to do an elopement, but I don't want to go. I don't want to leave my house. I have a baby. Yeah. So I think it's really important that we pay attention to that and listen to the signs. And I also think it's one of the best practice that I think that's probably the best practice to have, is if you are feeling uncomfortable about it, then listen to that.
Yeah.
And, it's not worth that one client. As much as we love our clients, it's not worth that one experience. And maybe communicate to the client and say, hey, how about we do it this way? Because this is a healthier way of doing it. A safer way, I should say. How about if we spread out the chairs for everyone that's sitting in the ceremony? I think that's definitely an important thing. Another thing is scope out the location. What's close by? Is this a suitable space to actually have a COVID wedding?
Yeah. Because there are some places that are more conducive than others, and having open air, now that we have pretty great weather right now, if you can space things out or have it open air and outside, that's definitely seems to be a safer way to manage things. So yeah, that's great advice too.
And it's also really important to connect with your vendors and see how they're feeling.
Yeah.
I'm just my heart breaks with getting all these calls from these vendors that I've been working with for such a long time, saying, if I don't get business soon, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah. No, I've had the same conversations. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And at the beginning of COVID, every florist that I knew, I tried to order something from each one of them and send it as a gift. And I'm like, I know it's not much, but I just want you to know I'm here. There's a couple of photographers, I Ubered them food or something. It's how do I help? Tell me how to help. And and it makes me really sad that I'm hearing a lot of vendors saying, if we don't get business soon, we're not going to make it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's just,
I know.
It's life. And unfortunately, I keep hearing this, the people who have the right kind of hustle are going to last, and the people that don't are not going to.
Yeah, it sucks. And I think I'm hearing it from businesses that are well established, that have been around for years, that have a good amount of employees that are just not going to be able to recapture the events this year. And it's definitely true for a lot of colleagues that do corporate events. I've had all of my corporate for 2020 is gone. Yeah. Even the holiday parties for companies that are doing really well. I can't talk about the one in particular, but it was going to be a big event for 650 people, and they're not affected by COVID. They're an entertainment company, and they've been doing really well. But they don't want to risk getting all their staff in one big room, and so they're not going to sign a venue contract. They don't even know if it's going to be allowed. So they're just going to, decide at mid-year to not go forward with it. And I totally accept that. And I think it's wise. But at the same time, if I'm not, businesses like myself, that if you're not doing all their holiday parties, the giant holiday parties that, are, big source of revenue for the end of the year that you work on for months, then what do? It's tough.
The whole side hustle thing has never been as important as it is now.
Yeah.
Because I also hear a lot of companies that are are wedding planners, for example, but always did something on the side, whether it was a virtual service or it was a physical product, and they're working on that a little bit more during this time.
Yeah.
I want to bring up as well with the whole, vendors closing up or losing their businesses. I also feel because, and this is just my personal opinion, and this, people can take it away whichever way they want. I felt like 2019 was such a difficult year for so many people, and we don't know the math or the formula as to why it was so difficult. But I feel it was a very tough year for so many of us. And 2020 started off, everyone was so excited about 2020, and then, surprise. And I feel that there were a lot of companies that were already in the process of eliminating their business. Mm-hmm. And COVID was like the last nail on their coffin, if that makes sense. Like the culinary concepts, I don't think that they went out of business because they weren't getting business. I think that the owner was in the process of retiring. Mm-hmm. And this was just, you know what? That's it. Let's just do it. Let's just do it kind of thing. And I think that that's a really brave and educated move. And a lot of companies are saying, you know what, I wasn't really having this whole, florist thing, or I was having this whole wedding planner thing. I'm just going to give it up for now because I want to focus on something else. So there's that process as well. And COVID has woken a lot of people up as well. I know. I hear the frustration. I hear it. And the only thing I can tell people is that you are healthy, you're with your family, even if they drive you insane.
Don't tell him. It's okay.
I'm sure I'm just as bad. So, it's you got to do what you got to do to get to where you need to get to. That's something that I've been saying from the beginning of my career. Do what you need to do to get where you need to get to, and then call it a day.
No, it's so true. And I wasn't going to speak to this, but it's kind of in line with what you just said, is that I've decided that I have another side hustle because, I need 3 as an Aries. I need to start a bunch of things and then run on to the next shiny object. But the thing that I started working on is doing more graphic design stuff. I started teaching Canva workshops, kind of through event industry, because I had taught that scrapbook thing, because I'm can we just rethink our goals for 2020, because I had a lot and they were going really well until March. So let's reestablish goals. And that turned into teaching some Canva workshops, which was great. And then I just realized that I love doing graphic design. So I've been building a website and some templates that I use that could be to basically create content really easily. They just download the template, they make some adjustments, maybe change some coloring, and have content created. Because I know as an entrepreneur, creating social media content on a regular basis can be laborious. And also if you're in Canva and you're wow, there's all these different designs, where do I start? What's on brand? You speak to this really true, and brought it up a number of times. I've heard you speak about brand color and brand identity and how important that is. And I think if that's not your nature, it's really hard to kind of establish what's that color and how do I make sure that that's incorporated into all the things I do. Do I just pick a color or pick a sequence of colors? And so I've kind of come up with these design boards that are help you identify that. And
that's amazing. Love that. It's funny you even bring that up. The other day I like old movies, so I was watching Steel Magnolias.
Oh, I love that movie.
And something that Julia Roberts said in that movie, I paused it and then rewinded it just to listen to it again. And she said something, and it hit me that branding has been around for other than companies, but individual people. Branding is such a significant part in people's lives. When she was in the hair salon getting her hair done for her wedding, and her mom's oh, there's pink everywhere. She goes, pink is my color. It's blush and bashful. Yes. And I'm she's right. Julia Roberts has the answer. She's blush and bashful. Like that was her. And she goes, that's the color that signifies me, or that's the color that represents me. And I'm like, you know what? I am not that crazy after all. So what I am saying does make sense. And you know, I worked with Laurie Nicode of the Creative Click. She's the one that did my branding. And when we first met, she goes, what's your favorite color? I go, I don't know. I've always been told that purple is my favorite color. And she goes, is it? I go, well, when I was a little girl, my mom had like a one of those chests when you get married, and they put this thing so you, when you get married, like a memory, not a memory chest, like a it's like the mother puts all this stuff, so when your daughter gets married, you give her a bunch of things.
Oh my God, I did not have one of those, so I don't know what those are called.
My mom never got around to doing it, but I remember she went to the store and saw these like really fancy towels that were like really expensive on sale. So she bought a bunch of them and she left them on the side of my closet. She goes, this is for when you get married. And they're like really nice towels, and they were lavender.
Oh, okay.
And then I remember on my birthdays, my mom would always have yellow and purple flowers everywhere. And no one did yellow and purple flowers back then. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And then on my wedding in 1999, I had lavender and dark purple. I'm like, okay, I see a trend.
Embrace it.
Yeah, exactly. And then when that light bulb hit my head, I was like, why do I have nothing purple in my house? Why do I not wear purple? What is wrong with me? It looks good on, and it's like my favorite color. So it definitely worked something up from the inside. And I've witnessed other people in the industry or in just businesses when I've been around when they figured out their color.
Mm-hmm.
And it really just gives them this like level of confidence, and they open their eyes up to so much more when they know what their color is, what their style is. And, you know, it's not just
it just makes it cohesive. It kind of helps you create content. It helps you just kind of stylistically make decisions on like if you're going to make changes to your website, or if you're going to put out a postcard, or if you're going to do an email blast, like what would be something that resonates stylistically and color wise, so you're replicating that over and over and over again, versus you're like, today I'm going to make this like black, and I'm going to use this like maroon color because that's how I'm feeling today. It's like, you can't, I mean,
yeah,
you could do that, but it doesn't, and if you're not, I mean, that's just me deciding as a person, not like me trying to like establish a brand and make it make sense when people are looking at your social media platforms and your website and everything else. Like it really has to be cohesive to be successful, you know, especially if you're going after big clients or wanting to do more with that brand, it really has to like, anyhow.
Yeah. And, you know, when I remember speaking with Laurie saying, I want Refined by Suher to be a name that when people hear it, they say, oh, the chick that likes purple.
Yeah.
And it happened. And I'm not over exaggerating. At least every 3 to 5 times a day, I get someone that sends me a purple photo of something.
Aww.
This reminds me of you. Oh, look at this. You should go to this. Or you should go to that. And I'm like, you know, that's it. I figured out my whole branding thing. And like I said, when I see other people figure it out, it really makes me happy that it creates a path to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And it's like a ripple effect, and they just get to where they need to get to a lot quicker.
Yeah. And one thing that I have kind of in my journey of like business education and marketing education have come up with is that sometimes you need to think about like who your target audience is too. And sometimes that color might not be your signature, like your color might not be something that like has that backstory like you did. Like some people are like, I don't know. I mean, I liked green as a kid, you know, like what, I have no idea, you know? But if you think about your customer avatar and some of those things that resonate with that person, and they're as like a personality of like one person, like where they're from, what do they like to do, what movies they like to watch, what activities do they like to do on the weekend, you can start to like hone in on your design, like basing off of like customer avatar and nailing down a couple colors or a signature color too that can help. So
very much so. You actually brought up a really good subject, your whole avatar. When I do my one-on-ones and I have new blood, as we call it, in the industry. I'm like, yes, a new person who's eager to learn. I tell them, I want you to go and create your own person, your own perfect bride, and I want you to speak as if you are her. Say, hi, my name, like for me, example, hi, my name is Evangeline. I went to Boston University, and my parents are lawyers, and and I want a backyard country style wedding, for example, whatever it is, and or I want a really elegant wedding at Rancho Valencia, and I like purple, but not so much. I just maybe a pop here or there, and I speak as though I am the bride. And I constantly repeat that to myself, like every couple of weeks. If I'm having like a hard time, typing something up or putting something together for a client, I sit there and say, okay, who is my bride? Who is my bride? Or who's my couple?
Totally.
And it definitely works. It definitely works.
Such a good point. Yeah. I feel like I could talk to you for hours. We can just keep thinking of subjects and keep chatting. I kind
of want to have like a little brain powwow once all this is done with like about 10 people that
I know.
Like us. And I'm having Marilee from Ever After events, because she started her online program as well. Us brains together and coming up with something, because I was just talking to another Suzanne Duffy and Christine Ong. Like we're teaching all similar things. What's the next thing? What's the next big thing that we need to learn? Like we get the branding, we get the client, our avatar, we get the social media thing. What's next? What is coming that we need to all jump on and learn and educate everyone with?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm really finding for myself, like just loving the design stuff. I mean, it was kind of by accident. I've always created my own graphics. I've always had a role where I created graphic material for other businesses that I work for, companies I work for, nonprofits. And I never thought, oh, I should be a graphic designer. I've just always done it by default. And then when I didn't have any weddings to plan, I'm like, but I'm still having to create social media content. And I think that there's people that don't like to do this or would like to, an easy button for it. So it just became like a natural thing to explore, because it's something I like and something that people need. So, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say it would be great to do like a roundtable discussion between those colleagues for sure. We should set that up. Okay. You promoted a lot of businesses earlier, but anybody that we left off that we wanted to do a shout out for that we didn't talk about so far?
Let me see. Let me think. Sorry, maybe. Where do I start? Oh my gosh, who do I shout out? Sage. Sage is one of my favorite photographers. He's like part of my Rat Pack. Sage does photography is great. I have to say though, I absolutely love Madeline Sheldon from Botanica Muse. There's something about her work that keeps getting my attention, and I'm just waiting for that perfect client to send her, because she's so well put together as a human. Her approach to things, her conversation. Forget her talent, just her as a person, just breathtaking. Totally. She's definitely the future of the wedding industry. I see it.
Oh, yeah. What a great compliment to her. I'll make sure I definitely, no, I mean, she knows the way to my heart. She, the RFP event that we had back in March, she showed up and gifted me a bottle of wine. And I'm like, what are you doing coming to my event, giving me wine? I'm supposed to be here to like, entertain you and stuff. Yeah. So she's amazing.
Flowers. I want wine. We're gonna have a conversation. Another person, obviously, I mentioned her already. Jillian from TBD, and Armando. Like, come on, like they're the people you call when you say, "Hey, I need a favor. I need to ask your advice about something." They're like, "Shoot, go for it. What's up?" And that's it. And they sit there and they like brainstorm with you and they figure out. They're problem solvers, which I think is so important for us right now as the industry we're in. And I think it's really good to have those advocates on your side.
Totally. One of the things I was going to mention is I have been chatting with Miho Food Truck, and they were letting me know that they've been doing some pop-up events, and they're also doing the food for Loose Loft. Has a new venue, Loose on Kettner, that's doing a soft opening next Friday. They have an event page, and I'll link to that.
Emailed me a couple of days ago, and I'm like, she's like, there's this, there's that. It's a X amount of people. I think it's up to 300 people. I'm like, oh, you're speaking my language. I will be there.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're gonna go to an event. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting.
Like, I want to wear a ball gown. I haven't dressed up in a long time.
I keep saying the last event I went to was Snake Oil's opening event for Julep. And I didn't stay that long because I did not know that was the last event I was going to get to go to, or I would have stayed a long time. I was only there for like an hour, and I wish I would have stayed a lot longer had I known.
Like the 10th or the 11th of March.
But no, was it? Your event was it was before your event, because that week they had an event, we had an event, you had an event.
Oh my gosh.
And then we had no more events.
I know. Oh my gosh. It's just, yeah. You know what? We just have to be patient. We just have to be patient. Like I said, I keep seeing people saying, oh, we want to do events. We want to do events. I'm like, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
I have to take the steps. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, Suher, I adore you, and you're amazing, and thank you. Your name pops up, it gets spoken so many times on my broadcast, and I was so glad that we had a chance to connect and talk about all the amazing things that you're doing. So thank you for everything you do for the community, and just a great resource you are. You're amazing.
Thank you. You too. Keep up the good work.
All right, honey. I'll talk to you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.